Ars Poetica number 100, I Believe, by Elizabeth Alexander. Poetry, I tell my students, is idiosyncratic. Poetry is where we are ourselves. Though Sterling Brown said every eye is a dramatic eye, digging in the clam flats for the shell that snaps, emptying the proverbial pocketbook. Poetry is what you find in the dirt in the corner. Over here on the bus, God in the details. The only way to get from here to there. Poetry, and now my voice is rising, is not all love, 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 and I'm sorry the dog died. Poetry, here I hear myself loudest, is the human voice. And are we not of interest to each other? So that's the poem that starts this week, which is our final week of this sort of very strange online poetry unit. And that poem is called Ars Poetica, and it falls into a genre of poetry called Ars Poetica, which is poetry about poetry. When you write a poem about what a poem is or what a poem does, that's Ars Poetica. So this week, you're kind of thinking about that. We've talked about what makes a poem, why line breaks work, what metaphors are, how poetry can talk to us in our hardest times, our darkest times, how poetry can interact with other forms of art, like visual art. We've done a lot of work with what poetry can be, what poetry should be, what poetry does and can do. And this week, you're sort of culminating that by connecting to poetry a little bit more independently. So up to this point, I have provided you each week with a curated list of poems that fit some kind of parameters. That first week, they were all ekphrastic poems, and the second week, they were all poems that sort of connected to this idea of resilience and poetry helping us through times that are challenging, and so on and so forth. So this week, what you'll see in the Schoology assignments is that I have provided you instead with links to really great libraries of poetry that are housed online, which is where I have been going each week to find the poems to curate those lists. And so this week, you're sort of curating your own list based on what you like. So you can read all poems about nature, if that's your thing, or you can read all really, really short poems, or you can read a whole bunch of poems by one poet who, as it turns out, you just adore. You can listen to slam poems this week instead of reading poems. But I've sort of connected you with some resources to do that exploration yourself. I'm calling it wandering the stacks because that's the sort of old-fashioned phrase for library shelves are called stacks. So we, those of us who didn't grow up with huge internet databases of poetry at our fingertips would have to literally wander around libraries and open up books and read poems. So I want you to kind of do that, the virtual version of that. If you go to the poets.org website, which is the Academy of American Poets website, it's my all-time favorite poetry database, you can even search in there by genre, by topic, by occasion. Like you could find all poems for Mother's Day, or all poems for birthdays or for graduations. And so you can kind of think about where you are and what you want to be reading right now, and that'll help you. So I think you'll do that. I think you'll enjoy it. You're not stuck reading the stuff that I think is good. You can kind of find whatever is appealing and interesting to you. And then you're going to choose 4 poems that are your favorites. These should be poems you discover this week, not poems that have always been your favorite poems. I want you to pick 4 new poems that you really like, and you're gonna do some responses to those poems. You can read about it on Schoology, but basically you have this sort of wide open, you can respond in more of like a formal, typed written response, or you can do something more artistic, or you can write a poem in response, do a video like the one I'm doing. It's sort of up to you. And we're gonna do another collaborative poem this week. So I think this is sort of your last chance to play with poetry before we move on to this thing that we're gonna do for the very, very end of the school year. We sort of give you a super short crash course in Romeo and Juliet. But the play here is what I'm hoping to see, and what I'm hoping you get something out of. I really want you to just kind of explore poetry and see what it can do. I really love poetry. I know it kind of gets a bad rap, but I think poetry is a pretty amazing little form of writing, and you can do so much with it, and poetry is really diverse. And I think almost anyone, despite what often people think coming into my classroom, almost anyone can find a poem that can speak to where they are. And I hope that's what you're able to do this week. I want to say that I've been really enjoying reading your collaborative poems. Your This Town poems were outstanding. I actually think I like them so much that next year, when I hopefully teach this unit in like actual person in the classroom, I think I'm actually gonna do that assignment anyway. They've just been really great. And you're gonna do an Ars Poetica, a poem about poetry, collaborative poem this week that I hope you will pour as much of yourself into as you did with the This Town poems. I'm just really enjoying you guys. This unit has been great. I'm learning a lot from you guys. Thank you for bringing so much of yourselves to the table, and for participating, and for working so hard. I'm unbelievably proud of the work that you've been doing. I kind of can't imagine this unit going better given the circumstances. I think it would have gone better if we were all together in S113, but I feel like I'm still hearing from you all and talking to you all because of the poems that you're submitting. And I'm just really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying the voices that I'm hearing from you, and the work that you're doing. So thank you for that. We have a Zoom this week at 3 on Wednesday. I hope to see you guys there. You know, keep on keeping on. We've basically got like 2.5 more weeks of this. So do the stuff this week. Next week we'll do a super duper quick crash course in Romeo and Juliet. You'll be fine. It'll be very doable. And then that last week we'll kind of wrap up Romeo and Juliet and ramp up the school year, and then we're done. So this is a weird way for us to end the school year, but here we go. So anyway, have a great week. I hope you guys have fun. I hope you enjoy the sunshine this week. And I will see you all on Zoom at 3 on Wednesday. And I can't wait to read your poems. You guys are rock stars. Mrs. Park loves you.